I'm a firm believer it's the artist's job to help teach the world things they don't know. That's why when you have regimes that try to take over in autocratic ways, they always go after the poets and the artists first, because you got to shut down that way they think.
Good afternoon, good day, good evening. I don't know what time you're listening or where you're listening from. It's your boy, your host, NaRon Tillman, and you are with me for another episode of Walk in Victory. Speaking of victory, walk.
Warning! This is a public service announcement. The Walk in Victory podcast is where we have conversations purposed to evolve lives. You may not want to evolve. Then tune into another bleeping podcast. Everyone else, enjoy the show. And here's our host.
Good afternoon, good day, good evening. I don't know what time you're listening and all we listening from. It's your boy, your host, NaRon Tillman, and you are with me for another episode of Walk in Victory. Y'all just heard me hit a little note, not just banging it up a little note. I'm in the studio with my boy Big Phil. You know, I don't usually get a chance to be in the studio that much, but I'm so glad. Look, I got this swinging chair. I think that victory for a minor. Another Kendrick, shout out to Katie Lamar, shout out to Drake. I don't have no sign of rap. When I was coming up, our rap battles were Bronx against Quiz. Grew up in New York, you know. Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, got into it. Who started rap first and all that other stuff. That's how old I am. So what we're watching right now, to me, is a bit historic and nostalgic. But this is not a hip hop show. But I will say this: I love when I see African American men using their brain power, not the gun, and we can get into a range and spar it out and use our lyricists, elevate what it was that we are. Because people sometimes look at you and they judge you, the book by the cover. And that's what this show is going to be about. Not judging a book by the cover, because you see somebody who's Hispanic. And we're living in a time right now where, shout out to all of my Hispanic brothers that we grew up in Rockaway, Queensway. For me, I'm going to be transparent. Not knowing the difference between or someone who's Mexican descent, someone Puerto Rican descent, but we all grew up in the same community and we don't even get a chance to identify the differences and what it is that they can actually bring to a community. Same thing with my Korean brothers and sisters. And, you know, we all like you Chinese food. Give me that $2 holla, or whatever it's going to be like $10 holla. But we don't get to learn the differences, to differentiate between the differences. And some of these brothers went to war for us, did all this, and we are so small-minded, self-centered, macro-minded, that we can't even see this, especially if you're from New York, because New York doesn't represent a culture. New York, like, I can't rock in tweets. They can do quick as we thought. Yes. The Bronx, like, I can follow. So it's different mindsets for each. And that's the culture that I grew up in. But when you take your culture and evolve it around the world, and we talk about mindset shifts, when I'm in Virginia with my dad, my dad lives in Virginia, Lake Virginia. I'm in the South, deeper South with my family, and somebody say hi to me because I have that aggression. I'm like, oh, they just said hi. So how do we detach ourselves in this environment from those worldviews and really position ourselves to be better stewards. And I'm going to be talking to our guest. I told you we set you up to be the masters. Jimmy, who has a great backstory. Jimmy, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I just like to say I love the energy you started with the show with. That was fantastic, and it was a great intro. Um, I like the ideas you just posed already about how artists, because I'm an artist. I'm an actor, but at core, I'm an artist, and I'm a firm believer it's the artist's job to help teach the world things they don't know. That's why when you have regimes that try to take over in autocratic ways, they always go after the poets and the artists first, because you got to shut down that way they think. And that's really what I'm here to talk about, is just a new way to think. And if I could pose it this way real quick, when we gave written literacy or reading to humanity, it changed the world, right? When we gave mathematics or numerical literacy to the world, it changed the world. I'm simply making the argument that if we give mental and emotional literacy in a systemic, teachable way to humanity alongside the other two, why wouldn't it change the world?
But we know that we have hierarchies.
Hmm.
Their plan is not to change the world. Their plan is to keep the world the same. Because if we don't tap into the word, I'm going to use the I word, imagination. If I think you have 4 kids and you don't teach them how to tap into their imagination, what will happen to those 4 kids? You got the floor.
Well, if you don't teach them, they'll just be static. They won't grow. And I think that's what's happened. That's exactly what we've done. We created that factory mentality back. We know it. How the education system came up. If we really cared about educating kids, when we broke them up into classrooms, why would we break them up into classrooms like, okay, all these kids are audio learners, give them an audio teacher. All these kids are practical learners, give them a practical teacher. Break it up that way, but that's not the goal. I'm saying these tools and techniques will put that into the individual's hands. These are the tools and techniques that teach you how imagination works, how to break down a moment, how to regulate your emotions, how to create theory of mind. The amount of soft skills that are created, that are learned through just as a byproduct of learning these skills is insane. And it's just one of those things where you have to appreciate where it came from. When you look at artists, metal workers work with metal, glass workers work with glass, musicians work with instruments, artists work with the human mind and emotions. It's not about pretend anymore. It transcended pretend most profoundly about 100 years ago with this gentleman named Konstantin Stanislavski, and he made it about being and becoming. So basically, now it's at the point where we are using real emotions in imaginary circumstances. We're building real working human mindsets for the stage. But the rub is, we don't have a mind and emotions for the stage and a mind and emotion for life. So, what these masters essentially did was created these systems not just for actors, but for all of us, because they work. They're wrenches, they're tools, they're screwdrivers. They just teach us how to grow and develop the human being mentally and emotionally.
So I'm glad that you said that. So my first occupation before I did anything else, I was in the music. I for Ghost Row. I was on really one hip hop artist. I know if you listen to me, I know y'all get tired of me saying this, but these people don't know it. I don't in my life. I don't even connect with that world no more. I don't connect with the first thing that I want to do. The first love that I fell in love with was music. My daughter's in Howard University. She's the musician now. She's the jazz artist. She plays, she sings. So
It's awesome.
I'm no longer a musician. That's her will. I understand the psychosomatic of music, not from the psychosomatic of music, because when I was doing it, I didn't understand the psychosomatic of music. I learned from mindfulness and everything that I do now, the psychosomatic of sound. So when we talk about sound and how it penetrates the ear and how it helps to cultivate a culture, what would that say to you?
Well, here's another. I want to connect this real quick because you brought up jazz, and this is how jazz can connect right to acting. When you talk about jazz singers, one thing that's very prominent, people will say it's like, whoa, man, that cat's got soul. And
Yeah,
you understand that they got soul, and you can understand a player that doesn't have soul. They don't have life experience. What they're really saying, and they don't realize, is that person knows how to use their emotions. They can invoke their emotions in a way that it tells the story for them through the instrument, through the notes. It's not just. It's like you can go to a performance where everything is proficiently correct. It's a perfect score, it sounds great, but 5 minutes after you leave, you're talking about where you're getting your next beer. There's other performances when you leave, you are spellbound, you are drained when you left, you are impacted, and 10 years later you talk about that moment. It's because that soul connects us. That's what the artist, what it doesn't matter what the medium is. It doesn't matter if it's music, if it's acting, if it's metalworking, whatever. The soul that you put into it, that's the actor's job. It's your job to connect your emotional body to the work. So that allows us to touch each other.
this is going to be outdated by the time it's heard. But do you believe that that's what Kendrick Lamar did? I'm interviewing you on a Wednesday. I
I
saw
think
Jackson. I saw Prince. I saw Beyonce. I'm in here on a Wednesday, and people are still talking about how they felt about Kendrick Lamar's performance. I don't know if you
I
got.
don't think it's fair. I don't think Oh, I want to get into this. I do. I don't think it's fair to compare them because I mean I'm a Gen Xer. Michael Jackson was completely different. He commanded that stage. He's a general, man. He's a
That's
leader.
what he did. He did good.
Exactly. Kendrick Lamar, and this is what people really don't talk about, but I read this article just recently, and it said after the Kendrick Lamar concert, the search engines for 40 Acres and a Mule spiked exponentially because that's what an artist does.
Yeah.
That's what an artist
French
does. He
culture.
doesn't just, yeah, he's changing things, It's like freaking, man, what's that cat's name? Uh, I forgot to sing his name, but he was singing the song about he wanted to have a song. Oh, he's so popular. He got shot, man. The musician that got shot in the lobby by I forgot. No, no, no. This is way back in the day. Eartha Kick days. Oh,
John.
no, 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 no. It was something down by the river, man. I don't know. I'll think about it. It'll come back to me in a minute. But anyways, I can't think his. Yes, thank you, Sam Cooke. That's his name.
That's
Uh,
a one that close school in the road.
Sam Cooke. But it was
From
that.
the house, kept me in here. Check it. Because I want
There
you.
we go. Sorry.
These are Jews. You drop.
I'm sorry. I lost where we were. My camera fell and it threw
No,
me
just
off.
talking about Sam Cooke.
Yeah, but like I said, it's that soul that I can't remember the name of the song where he's born down by the river.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Every little thing.
yeah, it's just when you hear it, it's not just the words, it's not just the notes, it's the emotion, the soul in his voice that's going into it because this means something to him. And to me, it's like historians, they write down the facts of the time. Artists, we write down the soul of the time. We let you know what it felt like in that time. So it's the difference between facts and feelings.
Do you think that's why they killed the artist?
Yes.
The artists were what they call stenographers. The stenographers, they made music. They captured the moment. We're going through a time now that look only because you're doing this and this, and I know that you're a serviceman. We're going through a time now where they're trying to rewrite history. We're living. I don't think people understand we're living in a time that they're trying to rewrite history. We're living in a time where they're treating people right and wrong. And it has to do with music. And it has to do, that's why so many people are split about the performance.
I think the split comes from political aspect because they want him to shut up because he's saying something that makes people uncomfortable. You're not supposed to say that on a stage that big. I mean, they were tripping out about Venus Williams' dance. It was 10 seconds and they were tripping about it because
It's crazy.
she did something she wasn't supposed to do because it connected back to the whole Wimbledon thing. It's you aren't supposed to get up on that. It's code switching. She didn't code switch in Wimbledon in 2012 like she was supposed to. She was her authentic self, and that was a no-no. But she was like, I don't care,
So
and
our conversation is, and then this is why I like the way we're not just interviews. Our conversation is about the shift in a way. When we talk about code switching, when we talk about true authentic self, so I can keep it within the topics of my influence and mindfulness. When you are in Marines and you're serving, but you walk in and you're around people that don't look like you, and they start to see or treat you in a way, or you see your people treated in a way. What made you not code switch? And I know that you didn't code switch because I know from talking to you in this 15 minutes. But what was it that you to make you say, all right, because you can say, I'm, and I'm not going to talk about my people, but you're so confident and bold about talking about your people, talking about my people, understanding the culture. What birthed that inside of you?
Honestly, this goes back. It's the only way I know how to live. Really, it goes back to me when I was 4 years old. When I was a little one, my parents took me to midnight mass, and the concept of eternity freaked me out. It just hit me for whatever reason. I realized if there's no end, there could be no middle. If there's no middle, it's just a perpetual beginning. So at some point in time, I'm going to do everything and get bored, and boredom freaked me out. So I regressed deep into my mind, and just instinctually, I started treating my mind like a computer, and I started creating programs. Two of the most prominent were my suits and bubbles. My suits were just different versions of myself, mentally and emotionally. My bubbles were like the holodeck on the Star Trek universe. So basically, I'd create these different worlds. I would put different versions of me in there. I'd run a scenario, reset, change things, and keep going. And and every time I met someone, I would copy them mentally and emotionally, add it to me, and I would grow. So it's not that I have my best, true, authentic self. I have a wardrobe of selves that I can switch in and out to. I have like hyper code switching. So basically, it's like I wouldn't wear a tuxedo to the beach unless like it's a wedding, something important. I wouldn't, talk with my grandmother the way I talk to my buddies in the bars. So I can just switch in and out. But what it's also done, have you ever seen the Predator films? I essentially have in a way predator vision. All right, like if I have a problem, I just click through my mind and look at the problem with different mental and emotional parameters. I switch suits, so the problem changes and answers arise. So friends have gotten to the point where they'll just grab me if they have a problem. Hey, look at this problem, and then I'll just crap out like 3 or 4 answers, and they'll pick whichever one works for them because I can switch.
That seems like the superpower. And
It's a superpower we can all have.
that's what we talk about because you talk about mindset, and you love to talk about mindset shifting or mindset expansion. I I think that your gift more so is mindset expansion. What was some of the things that you had to go through to expand your mind to this point where you can dissect, interject, and press?
Well, I think
Well,
the way I did it versus the way I'm talking about are two different methods. I think the way I'm talking about is far superior than the way I did it. Because the way I did it was I was just open to everything. So that meant not just the good things. When people started dumping their toxic lives on me, I started going through their toxic stuff, looking at it, recreating versions to understand it better. Because again, my whole thing is I want to understand everything. So it's like I would pick it up, and it's like I didn't think of the negative parameters that would be involved if I did this. You know what I mean? Because I was young and stupid. But now I got to the point, actually, where it all came together was around 2008. I'd been acting just a few years at that point, but I was doing a film called Hunger, and I was acting opposite of Lyndon Ashby, and we were in a scene, and I wasn't even on camera, so I wasn't acting. He was on camera. But when they yelled cut, he just reached over and shook my hands like I pulled his baby out of the fire. And I didn't get it at first. But after thinking about it for like a month or so, I realized it was because I had spent my whole life living this way. I didn't need to act. I just being present in the moment was enough. And that gave him what he needed so he could make his performance better, even though I was off camera. Because a lot of times when you have someone on camera and off camera, the off camera will just be like blah, 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 blah. And you're not giving anything to your scene partner. I'm in a natural state of always giving to whoever I'm talking to. I'm always active listening. So it changes who I am fundamentally as opposed to my counterparts.
So how does that work? We talking about transfers now, but those of you who are listening, he's talking about transferring energy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Your energy is in a state. How does that work for you going on a set where you know you need to be on? Let's say you're a pilot, you're playing a pilot, and you need to be on a pilot. Do you have? How does that work for you when you're shifting from a mindset of I'm Jim and I'm just waking up and I had a bad night with my spouse, but I gotta go on the scene to be a pilot. How do you not carry the argument, tension, and all of those things that can weigh you down and come on fresh, ready to explore, ready to do your thing?
Well, that's the work. That's what we talk about in acting. That's Meisner, Hagen, Stanislavski. It's breaking it all down to the point where you know every moment of your life. Like Stanislavski, the whole point of the system is 7 questions. Let me just rattle this off real quick. Now,
But that's all about
go ahead.
because you did this fucking.
Say again.
You did this on MF, man. You know this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, goddamn.
I agree with you in that. I very am in the deep end of the ocean. But the whole purpose of the Stanislavski system is to break down a moment for the imaginative. As an actor, I want to know all the choices I can make in this moment for my character. All right. Now, as I read these 7 questions, I'm going to explain to you what they do for the moment, how they break it down. But as you hear them, realize these aren't just acting questions. These are life questions that you can use to break down your life to find all the best choices in the moment you're actively in. Number 1, who am I? This is the moment in relation to you. Number 2, where am I? This is the moment in relation to the environment.
Number
Number 3, when is it? This is the moment in relation to time. Number 4, this is the moment. Well, what do I want? This is the moment in relation to purpose.
Number 5.
Number 5, why do I want it? This is the moment in relation to desire.
Number 6.
Number 6, how do I get it? This is the moment in relation to action. And number 7, what's in my way? This is the moment in relation to obstacles. So basically, all of these 7 questions put together, think of it like this. You're a submarine, right? You're in the ocean. You can't see anything. So how do you know what's out there? You use sonar. You shoot that sonar out. It pings things. You now know where the ground is. You know where the submarines are. You know where their surface vessels are. You know if they're dropping depth charges. These 7 questions, if I'm walking to an environment, at this point in my life, they just shoot out. And they bring back all these questions about the environment I'm in so I can be the best version of myself. Like when I go somewhere, people, like you said, it's like I have so much confidence. It's not that I have confidence. It's that I'm secure. And I'm secure because I've asked all these questions. An actor has stage fright because they don't do the work deep enough to know what's happening on stage. When people get up and they're afraid to have a conversation in front of people, 9 times out of 10, that is insecurity comes because they didn't build those parts that allow themselves to stand up there. They're not grounded in the moment and they don't have the presence. But again, everything in life is a learned skill. And these tools and techniques literally teach you how to build and develop those skills.
Let's talk about the connectivity between your military training and what it is that you did after the military. How important was it for you to go through that process of being torn down, built back up, and whatever it is that they did? I don't know because I didn't go in the military.
I had a unique aspect right beforehand, and it's because I was a young man. My first great love. I was a teenager. I still think back to her. A genuine first great love of my life. We dated for 2 years. Oh man! But we broke up right before I entered in. Went to boot camp for the Marine Corps, and
first grade tonight.
No. I from a GREAT, not grade. I don't know if you ever seen The Bronx Tale with Chaz Palminteri, Robert De Niro.
Yeah, I saw it, but
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but he remembers movies more than I do. So give me an example.
Okay, he talked about his three great loves. You get three great loves in your life. It's not like the great Grade, it's Grate. So she was my first great love.
Oh,
Yeah, I had three great loves in my life. She was the first of the three.
oh,
Yeah, and we dated for 2 years when I was in high school, and we broke up right before I went to boot camp. So I was destroyed. So when I went to boot camp, when they broke me down, it went to the core of me. I mean, it wrecked me. But when I rebuilt the systems, go ahead,
my
go ahead.
first great love got pregnant, and my homeboy had to tell me. So I didn't know that. And I was sitting there trying to talk to them, and her baby got it walked up. So, yeah,
Oh, I know,
it
yeah,
breaks my heart.
pain.
Yeah, it breaks my heart. I'm going back to high school. That
Yeah,
breaks
it rips out. It never stops, man. It never goes away. Time don't heal some wounds. I get it, man.
I
I
live
get
with
it.
fame. I wrote my first song about
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember mine too, man. But anyways, yeah, going back in there, man. It's one of those things where there's so much more to us. Like if you look at us, the what do you call it? Science says that the human brain is the most powerful supercomputer known to mankind, right? So essentially, we have over 8 billion of the most powerful supercomputers known to mankind with an emotional power cord on a planet that has a global infrastructure that can teach us whatever we want. I feel like we should have colonized the solar system a long time ago. It's just we're getting in our own way because we're factoring money, which isn't even real, over what we can do as a species in general. Because every human being's a lottery ticket, man. Every single one. We just don't know where the golden tickets are. They could be in a rice field in Cambodia for all we know. We should be empowering every human being we possibly can and see what they can do. Let them learn in the direction of their dreams and then show us what they learned.
well, that's my point. What topics of influence, and I think that's why you wanted to be on my show, is because
Yes, sir.
we don't foster or tap into our imagination anymore. We used to make up games. I'm about to be 50 years old. Shout out to everybody born in 75. I don't look it, but I am.
I'm close. I'm
But
78.
I got all my teeth, but we don't tap into. We used to play a game called Coco League. What the hell is Coco League? We would bounce a ball off the side of the wall and everybody start running, and you got to catch somebody. And then you got to hold it long enough so they can't break out. And they're Coco League, one, two, three, one, two, three, one, two, three, one, two, three. And then they in jail. That's police shit, right? Excuse my language. We did those things from our imagination because those are the impressions that we had in our subconscious minds. We created games. We played Skelly. But everything was in a box. Everything was in jail. You can't move. You had to know the law. Where did those impressions come from? We, our education system, moved from a curriculum that allowed people to take Legos or Play-Doh. When I first started in education, we said, oh, they will allow us to use our imagination and build something. And we can tell the teacher what it is that we do. Then it was like, no, you need to build this. So the mind, the imagination has been set not just out of cultures that are less, can't, okay, out of the cultures that are less influenced by finances. Because when I talk to my rabbi friend who's what they do, and this is a juxtaposing position, they look at if the kid can play the drum, they monitor their children. They don't say, oh, you're going to be a lawyer. Oh, you're going to be, they monitor the children and they put the children in the best places to succeed. So if this guy is patting the table, like, oh, let's give him drum lessons. This girl is, every time she hears music, she got rhythm, let's put in piano lessons. So we got two communities, one that's saying, oh, that can't be this. And the other one that's saying, yeah, you can do that. They might not be a great drummer, but because we know that you have an inclination to drum, you have an inclination to recite, you have a great memory, I'm going to support that. We in our community, like, hey, Jim, hey, you got to be a doctor, or you got to be a rapper, or you got to be a basketball player, because you got to take power from this type of community. And if here's the other role for me, damn show which we bring the community once when we get out.
No, I
Not my
appreciate what
show.
you're.
This is not my show like that. I don't do it. But you got the floor, man.
No, absolutely. Like I said, I appreciate where you're going with that. It's just like one of those things where, and it goes like we were saying with the doctors, how we grow. And it's like, what was two big professions that were pushed when I was growing up? You got to be a doctor. You got to be a lawyer. That's where the money is. That's where the money is.
Eric,
We pushed so many people in there, not because they love the law or they love medicine, because they love money. Now, what are two of the most corrupt fields? The legal field and the medical field. We destroyed those as a people because we didn't put people in there who love to work. We put people who love money, and that's where I feel like the separation is coming from, because it goes back to when when the middle class was its best, when the rich were paying 90% of taxes, and they were still living like kings, even paying that much. Now they're about to put it down to 15% after how many presidencies where they keep making tax cuts, tax cuts, tax cuts. And that right there is part of where the money come from, pulling it out of education. They're trying to take away the education department now. So that is separating our ability to grow and develop ourselves. And they don't want that, because the dumber we are, the easier it is to manipulate us. And that's also why I feel like they try to keep us all the same, because it's easier to control one mindset than it is a nation of mindsets. So if you have these programs, and we've all been programmed, the education system we all grew up in, it was programmed us before we were born. It's just, are we able to unprogram ourselves from what we've been taught and to see our true potential in all the different varieties of selves we have to bring to the table?
so I was to ask you this one question, and I thank you for joining us. What's your purpose? What are you're going on podcast here, talking to people. You are deep, way beyond. I think like our conversation has not tapped into what it is that your true potential is and the message that you want to get out. But I want to give you the floor to talk to our audience about what it is that your message is and what it is that you want to convey.
I think the main thing is, I believe what we need to do is take this information, these tools and techniques, and put them into the education system along reading and math, like a form of literacy. That will transform the world. It'll teach us empathy. It'll teach us theory of mind, emotional regulation. All of these soft skills that we learn in a variety of different places, they're learned in a compound area as byproducts of the work you do. Because again, what we do as actors is evolved over the first. If you look at the 2,500 years of acting history, the first 2,100 years was all about representation and whatnot. Then it changed over a few hundred years. But the last 100 years, when the most great change happened, and now is the point where we have these tools and techniques that we need to put out there. Because if we do, like I said, it'll give people a whole new way of being human. As for my role, I don't know. I always say, like, I'm not the hero this idea needs. I'm the hobo it has. Someone better than me should be presenting this idea, but I feel like it's because of the life I lived that I was able to see it. Because how come nobody saw this idea before me? And it's like there's science to back it up, there's proof to back it up. It's just we use this idea on broken people right now. I'm saying, why stop at broken people? It's healing them. Give it to people before they're broken to make them more robust against damage.
Well, I would say this. How old are you?
I was born in 1978. I don't remember my age.
I was born in
I'm bad.
so you're like 3 years younger than me. So we will leave it at that. But what I will say is they don't want us to have these tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know who they think they are. So these tools are empowering. The system is created to absorb imagination. So
Mm-hmm.
we want cookie cutter people to come build businesses and do all those things. So that's the why. And then you tapped into that. We gotta have a why.
Mm-hmm.
Our responsibility. is to have these conversations. But there's even a level of these conversations that we can have that we got to navigate through the fields in order not to disrupt.
Yes.
We want to disrupt the one.
Just not enough for them to step on us beforehand.
We just, so we have to do the undercurrent. This is the problem. Because you also say we have to have a how. So the obstacle,
Mm-hmm.
the obstacle is the illusion of the carry is greater than the end result.
We just got to get people to stop seeing the illusion.
And that's the obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
It's, we don't have the carry. They come and have the carry. So they can give the carry in the temporary, and this is going to lead to a question. They can give carry, and you being from military to entertainment and all the things that you've accomplished in your life. They're given the carry in the immediate future. We're given a dream in a distant future. How do we carve that conversation to our new youth and young adults who have been conditioned by the carry?
This is where I feel like we, the people, have to do a bait and switch. So basically, we put these programs in because they're so akin to acting, they don't seem that kind of, dangerous wise. They could be passed off as just helping people kind of develop themselves more. But if we do this young, as they grow into it, because even you see it now, kids grow into it, but they don't have the tools. If they had the tools, they would grow into it, and have the strength to get their ideas across. They see the BS around us. And it's just generally when people buy into the system after they graduate high school, after they've got the initial programming, once they bought in, they're just there. But if we give the youth these tools and techniques beforehand, by the time they get there, they won't. Not only will they, at the youth before they buy in, be disgusted, but they'll have the strength not to buy in, to continue on their own way. So that's why I'm saying we'll raise a whole new generation of people that just stand up and push the board game off and say, "No, Rich, you can't have it all. Quit taking everything."
I teach yoga, mindfulness, and everything in schools and cities. By the time they call, and I'm being honest, I'm being transparent, it's too late. I like to teach the lower leveling you about meditation, mindfulness, and yoga, and all of that, all those things. Because if you can cultivate them into a program, they might make fart sounds and do all that. But if I go into a high school and in the 10th grade, by the time I'm in front of a 10th grade, I have to wrestle them. I have to, not physically, I don't do all that.
No, I get what you're saying. They generally don't take it seriously.
It's like, oh, I'm today yoga, forget. Like they have all these conceptions about what we're discussing right now. But then when I meet them when they're 25, 30, they're like, oh, gee, how we calm down. I know you've been doing this for now a long time, OG. Now I'm the OG that can help me calm down. But they have so much baggage to work through. So you are right. Acting, music. But you notice that they took all of those things out of our public schools.
Mm-hmm.
Acting, music, anything that help you tap into your imagination.
Imagination is dangerous to the government.
But you all right? So then, this is going to be my next last question. You said imagination is dangerous to the government, but one would say you are a government man. You did all of those things. So you're a government man. How can you have that stance?
Yes and no, I'm being a government man. I went in the Marine Corps, but I wasn't. It's the reason I only stayed in 6 years. I got out after my first tour and I got out honorable discharge, but I got in a lot of trouble in there because I wasn't, I thought too much. I didn't follow the program like I should have. Like my first, there's things in your service record book called page 11, and they're negative administrative marks. My first one, literally verbatim, was too much Rambo motivation. My second one was likes to play soldier, and I was like, bro, I joined the Marine Corps, but the thing was, I was in the air wing, not in division, totally different world. So I never really fit in there. After I got out, it was just like I saw the system was broken. You know, people didn't really care. They weren't after what was best. They just wanted to kick the can down the road. And I'm like, no, we can be better. Let's be better.
Okay. That's a great answer. And this is why we stick you at the feet of the masters. Why are you not afraid to say these things?
Well, like I said, it's because of my security. I have spent my whole life growing and developing myself. Who can intimidate me at this point? I mean, you could kill me, sure, but good luck intimidating me because I've built everything out inside of me. It's like hitting freaking a tungsten steel wall at this point, you know? It's just I've had so much experience in my life using these mental programs because it's not just my life experience. In here, I've lived so many lives. The laws of physics do not exist in your brain. You can live multiple lives in there. You could stack things on top of each other. Things I've done I can't even talk about because I'd sound crazy. But it's allowed me to the point where nobody can touch me at this point.
And they can't just come kill you neither because you got training. But besides that point, something Brady Loach,
Yeah, right?
it's like you're in it. Yeah, 6 years of training. Like, yeah, come if you want to. But what books have impacted you, helped you to get to this place of development on fiction,
um,
nonfiction?
there's so many, and it's not just books. It's like I'll listen, well, audiobooks a lot, but great courses. When I discovered the great, like on my arm, I have a tattoo of the logo of Audible.com and the great courses right there on my tricep because I've just got so like there was one year where I spent $250 and got like hundreds of hours of courses, and I went through the Peloponnesian War, 1,000 years of the Vikings, just all kinds of stuff that I have in my head now. But again, it's all colored me, so it's not one place. To me, it's everything. Everything I come to, I'm like a sponge. Wherever I go, I just want to know. I don't care what it is. If somebody's telling me about the paint on the wall, if they genuinely know everything about where it was made, manufactured, I would sit there and listen to it because I didn't know it. It's like I said, it's just I absorb everything.
There you have it, everybody. I told you we sit you at the feet of the masters. There we are, Jim. Go and listen to this podcast. All of it, his descriptions, landing page, information. Follow him on social. It's all on our website. You gotta stay in tune, stay in touch, especially if you're building up young people, young men, young boys, because we want them to use their imagination to see past where they are right now, because it is the imagination that's going to take them to the next level. I got to the next level. He got to the next level. He's a part of the Walking Victory family. We don't ask you for cash outs, Venmos, Apple Pays, and none of those things. But what we do ask you for, stop, pause, hit the like button, hit the subscription button. If you're listening on a platform that you can leave a review, we need that review. Or go to our walkingvictory.me webpage and leave a review there. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Walk in victory. Beautiful babies.